Hey guys, so this is my first JavaScript tutorial and today we will cover about the variables. So this video is perfect for those who want to understand JavaScript but really don't know how to start or where to start. Now we will really cover the very basic of JavaScript, which is understanding the variables, what it's meaning, how it works, and the list goes on. Now I have these are basically the topic that we will cover in this video. We'll cover about what is the variables and how it works. We will also cover about the variable rules, um, things that you should be avoid when using a variables and the alternative of variables, because variables is disadvantage in coding. So we can come up with an alternative for that. Now, if I open let me just open this index.html in here now and inspect the elements and go to the console tab. Now, basically, when you run, so if you see this one, I hope you can still see the thing that I am putting in here. I'll try my best to zoom that in. So basically, variable is something that you can put a value into your code or into your JS file. So value can be a boolean, it can be a string, it can be an integer like a number. So there's a lot of things, or there's a lot of value that you can put in on the variable. So in order for you to declare a variable, the syntax for that is simply by putting the abbreviation name, which is the var, and then let's say my first name is Angie. Okay, now if I press this one, you'll see it is an undefined for now. But if I type in first name, you'll see that the browser already stored the initial or the code that I declared, which is Angie. Now if I put in Angie there, it's already the browser already um, stored it as Angie. Okay, now I will put this code here. Just remove this one. I'll put that code in this script to store the value. So var and then my first name, and then I will declare a string, which is Angie. Now in putting a JavaScript, like in adding in putting something in JavaScript and declaring a variable rather in JavaScript, you can use an empty variable. Like there's no value on that part, or you can also just add a value. You can also remove this semicolon if you want to, but for the best practices, they always want to put a semicolon after your code. Okay, now let's say I also have a variable here called surname, and my surname is Sanoy, and let's just add a semicolon there, and let's pull up our browser, refreshed. Okay, so I already have the first name, and if I type in my surname, okay, it's already Angie Sanoy. Okay, now let's jump into the variable rules part. Okay, so it says here that you shouldn't be using. Okay, so do not use reserved keywords when you are declaring a variable. So example of a reserved keywords are var. Like there in JavaScript and any other programming language, there's a lot of reserved keywords that you cannot use. If you use that, it will throw an error. So I'm going to give you an example. So let's say I'm going to type in var there. Okay, var is a reserved keywords for the variable. Now, if I open this um, browser here, by the way, this index.html file is already equivalent in this file here. So if you see this part, you'll see that I've got this. It's throwing me an unexpected error because of unexpected token var. So basically, the browser is having hard time to interpret the code that you put in. So you cannot use a reserved keywords. But the workaround for that, if you really want this word in here, like I really want that war name there. So the alternative that you can do is to add a number sign, a dollar sign rather, or a let me just put that there. Here, let's jump in here now, so it's more understandable. So the workaround on that, if you really want this name into as your variables, you can use a number sign or an underscore sign. So you can come up with an underscore sign there, and if we play that, if you open that browser, you'll see that there's no more error. If I type in var, it's Angie. So you can also use a dollar sign, refresh that, and if I type in that, it's still working. So that's the alternative that you can do if you really want to use the reserved keywords. But again, just avoid the reserved keywords if you don't, if you don't want to get in trouble, right? Now let's jump into the options called adding space, okay? So how I can explain that. So let's open this again, and let me just change this back to the first name. Okay, first name. Okay, open that. Now if I, okay, so let's say I want this Angie, because at the moment if I put in first name and then I also put in surname, it's giving me two results. So what if you want, so let's say you want it to merge in one line. I want it to be full name. So what you can do is just put in var, and then full name is equals to first name plus surname. Okay, let's see what happened. If I refresh the browser and I type in full name, you'll see that they merge to each other. It's already Angie Sanoy, but I want a space. And this is not my full name. So what you can do is simply add a two single line. So opening and closing single line and a plus sign. So this is basically the space. If you want to add a space, then simply add a double quote or a single quote there. So if we open the browser and if I type in full name, you'll see there's already a space there. So it's already Angie Sanoy. Okay, now let's jump into the other rules of variables, which is the addition assignment operation. Okay, so let me try to add what would be the other example we can do. Okay, so what we can do basically is just here. Let me comment that. Okay, and give you another sample. So var name is Angie, and then what if I want to add a surname? So what you can do is just add something, a addition assignment operation. So okay, so let's do that. Refresh the browser. Oh, sorry. There should be a string. Refresh the browser. If I type in name, you'll see that it's ready. It's still Angie Sanoy. So basically, this addition assignment operation, it's combining the results. So this lesson, our code, like if you if you notice, this is a bit longer versus in this part. So if you want to simplify your code, then addition, assignment to operation would be the best thing to do. Now let's jump into alternative of variables. When declaring a variables, you can sometimes, not sometimes, but in most of the time, you will experience some bugs and issue in variables, especially if you have a lot of code that you're putting. Then um, using variables frequently is not a good suggestion, or it's not recommended, because variables can be overwritten. Okay, I'm going to show you an example of that. So let me just comment this video here. No, I don't. Okay, just keep that way. Okay, let me just refresh this browser. And then let's say that I want, no, I'm going to comment this one so you can really understand what I'm saying here. So let's use this. This, this is a better example. Okay, so we have this full name here. Okay. Okay, so when you do something, so variables can be overwritten or it can be override. So let's say I put something here, for first name is Anne. Okay, and if I refresh this browser and if I type in full name, you'll see that my name is already changed to Anne Sanoy. And what if this one, this kind of rule, you want this to be um you want this to be used on a password or into a product price. Of course you don't want it to be overwritten, right? You don't want it to be override. So it's not really recommended to keep using variables. So that's why there is an alternative for that called cons. And then we will also cover the let. So here, yeah. So let's jump in with the cons first. So cons is still similar with variables, but the only change of that is it let you to protect the variable for being overwritten. Okay, I'm going to show you an example. So let's refresh this browser again, and we will convert this one into let. Let's see what happened. No, cons rather. I'm gonna put this one here so you can understand what I'm saying. Here, I'm gonna change this everything to cons. Okay, refreshed. You'll see here that we have some issue, and it means uncaught syntax error. Identifier first name has been already declared. So basically in cons, you cannot redeclare a value. And since we put like we redeclared the first name here, which is we redeclared it twice, it's throwing as an error. So in cons, you cannot redeclare a value. So the solution for that is we can just do that way and do that way. So if I type in full name, first name, so Angie Sanoy, it's still the same. So again, I hope this makes sense. If you have any question with cons, please comment down below. So basically, if you want to protect your variable, because cons is still a variable, but you cannot be change it. It's constant. You cannot change the value inside your variable. So if you don't want to be changed, then use cons. Now there is also other thing here called let. Okay. Now on the let part, let me just show you an example again. Okay, so now let's jump into the let thing. Okay, so let's jump into the let. So let is similar to variable. It can be overwritten, overwritten, but you but you cannot redeclare it, or it limits you from redeclaring the value. Okay, so the good example of this part is like, let's say, a certain password. So let me just comment this down again. Okay, so let's say I have this let grade in here, and it is equivalent to number 5. Okay, and then let's refresh the browser, and if I type in grade, it's already number 5. Now I will add another grade there. Um, let's use additional assignment operation, and if I add 10, you'll see, let's type in grade, you'll see it's already number 15. It's similar with the variables. You can pretty come up with similar thing there, like grade and then grade 15. Now, if I put something there like variable, I'll show you the difference between variables and let shortly. So if you type in var grade, and let's say I want it to be overwritten to 25 integer. So if I put in grade there, you'll see that instead of 15, we are seeing a 25 result because we use variables. But if we use let here, and then put in let, we see that we are having an error. We are experiencing an identifier grade, which is this one, has already been declared. So basically, let limits you from declaring the value. So you cannot redeclare the let grade because it will throw an error. And that will help really you to debug things, because it's so hard to identify the bug if a variable keeps changing. Okay, but you can still I mean variable is still helpful, especially if your variable or the value keeps changing. So one of the example of that is a score, so like that. So yeah, that's basically how it works, guys. I hope it makes sense. And if you have any questions or concern, please feel free to comment down below. Also, follow my Facebook account. I'm going to give you some examples and exercises that you can practice. Have a great day.